9, that's the number, not 900, not 9,000. 9. 9 interceptors standing between 7 million Israeli civilians and whatever Iran decides to launch next. The $17 billion Iron Dome, the system that was supposed to be impenetrable, the technological marvel that defense contractors sold to the world as the future of missile defense, the shield that gave Israel the confidence to conduct military operations, knowing its cities were protected. That system just hit a wall it cannot recover from. And the Israeli government isn't hiding it anymore. They can't. Because when your early warning systems are degraded, when your interceptor stockpiles are functionally exhausted, when your population is receiving government alerts saying, "We cannot guarantee your protection," the math becomes impossible to spin. This isn't a temporary setback. This isn't a logistics delay. This is the moment a $17 billion defense system met an adversary who spent decades studying exactly how to break it. I'm OG Silver, and today we're going to break down exactly how the Iron Dome reached this point, why it matters far beyond Israel's borders, and what it signals about the future of missile defense everywhere. Let's translate what 9 interceptors actually means in military terms. The Iron Dome was designed to intercept short-range rockets and artillery shells. Each battery carries approximately 20 Tamir interceptor missiles. Israel operates between 10 and 15 batteries at any given time. That's a theoretical maximum of around 300 interceptors in active deployment. But the interceptor count isn't even the most significant problem Israel is facing right now, because there's something the $17 billion price tag was supposed to guarantee that has also failed: the radar systems, the eyes of the entire network. Iron Dome doesn't work as a standalone system. It's part of an integrated air defense architecture that includes David's Sling for medium-range threats, Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 for ballistic missiles, and a network of early warning radar installations that feed targeting data to all of them. Iran systematically targeted those radar installations over the past several weeks, and the results are now public. Israel's early warning capability has dropped from 15-25 minutes of advance notice to approximately 60 to 90 seconds. In some cases, less. Think about that number. 90 seconds. That's the time between detection and impact. That's the window civilians have to reach shelter. That's the decision cycle for launching interceptors that no longer exist in sufficient quantities anyway. 90 seconds isn't a warning. It's a notification. It's the system saying something is about to hit somewhere, and there's nothing we can do about it. The government of Israel confirmed this publicly, not through leaks, not through intelligence assessments, through official emergency communications to millions of citizens. The government told its own population, "Our ability to protect you has been fundamentally compromised." When a government admits that, the strategic situation has moved beyond spin. Have you ever wondered what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? For decades, American air defense systems like the Patriot and the Israeli Iron Dome were considered the ultimate shields, the gold standard of protection. But recent events in the Middle East are painting a very different picture, one that suggests these once invincible systems might be facing a crisis of confidence. It's a story of new threats, old technologies, and a strategic chessboard that's being rapidly redrawn. Let's rewind a bit. The Patriot missile system, a veteran of the First Gulf War, was designed to take down high-flying jets and ballistic missiles. The Iron Dome, a more recent innovation, was built to intercept short-range rockets and artillery shells. For years, they did their jobs remarkably well, creating a powerful sense of security. But the nature of warfare has changed. We're no longer just talking about conventional missiles. The rise of low-cost, mass-produced drones and sophisticated cruise missiles has completely changed the game. Think of it like this. A traditional air defense system is like a highly trained sniper. It's incredibly effective at taking out a few high-value targets. But what happens when that sniper is suddenly swarmed by 1,000 angry bees? That's the challenge these systems are facing today. Adversaries are using a strategy of saturation. They launch waves of inexpensive drones and missiles, sometimes dozens or even hundreds at a time. The goal isn't necessarily for every single one to hit its target. The goal is to overwhelm the defense systems. Each interceptor missile for a system like the Patriot can cost millions of dollars. The drones they're shooting down, they might cost just a few $1,000s. You can see the economic problem right away. It's an unsustainable game of cat and mouse. You can't keep firing multi-million-dollar interceptors at cheap drones without eventually running out of missiles or money. This economic imbalance is a huge strategic advantage for those using swarm tactics. This isn't just a theory. We've seen it play out. Reports from various conflict zones show that even with high interception rates, a small percentage of projectiles still get through. And when you're dealing with a massive swarm, even a small percentage can mean significant damage. This has led to what some analysts are calling a cascading collapse. It's not that the systems fail completely all at once. It's a gradual erosion of effectiveness. The defenses get thinned out, the stockpiles of interceptors dwindle, and the psychological shield of invincibility begins to crack. This has massive strategic implications. For years, American allies in the Middle East have relied on this technological superiority as a cornerstone of their national security. If that superiority is now in question, it forces a complete reevaluation of defense strategies. Countries may feel they can no longer rely solely on a defensive shield and might be pushed towards more preemptive or offensive military doctrines. It destabilizes the entire region by changing the calculus of power. So what's the solution? The race is on to develop new technologies. We're talking about directed energy weapons, like high-powered lasers and microwave systems. Unlike missiles, the cost per shot for a laser is negligible, just the price of the electricity to power it. They can fire rapidly and engage a large number of targets without worrying about running out of ammunition. Companies are pouring billions into developing these next-generation defenses, but they are not yet widely deployed or fully proven in real-world combat scenarios. There's also a shift in tactics. The new focus is on a layered defense approach. You'd have different systems optimized for different threats. Lasers and electronic warfare systems might handle the cheap, close-range drones, while more traditional interceptors like the Patriot would be saved for the high-value targets like ballistic missiles. It's about creating a more resilient and economically viable defensive network. The current situation is also a wake-up call about the dangers of over-reliance on any single technology. The belief that a superweapon could solve all security problems has been proven false. True security comes from a combination of technology, strategy, diplomacy, and economic strength. The challenges facing the Patriot and Iron Dome aren't just technical problems. They are strategic dilemmas that will shape the future of conflict not just in the Middle East, but around the world. The era of the simple shield is over. The future of defense lies in adaptability, integration, and innovation. It's a complex, ever-evolving chess match where the next move is always uncertain. The cascading failure of these systems isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new chapter in military history, one that forces everyone to rethink the very nature of power and security in the 21st century. Let's talk about what happens next, because the implications of Iron Dome's failure extend far beyond Israel's borders. For Israel, the immediate consequence is a strategic vulnerability unlike anything they have experienced since 1973. The country's freedom to act defensively was always based on their confidence in defense. They could strike targets knowing their cities were shielded and civilian casualties at home would be minimized. That whole calculation just changed. Every military decision now carries a risk of domestic exposure that wasn't part of the old equation. For America, the consequence is a credibility crisis that impacts every defense relationship worldwide. Taiwan is watching, South Korea is watching, Japan is watching. Every nation that relies on American defense technology to deter its adversaries is now watching one of the most expensive and advertised missile defense systems in the world fail against a regional threat, not even a peer competitor. If these systems can't stop Iran, what happens when they're up against China? That question is being asked in every defense ministry in the Pacific right now. For the global economy, the consequence is an instability that the markets have not priced in. We're talking about disruptions to energy, shipping, supply chains, and the insurance market. The systems that keep global commerce functioning all assume there's stability in the Gulf. That assumption is no longer valid. For the defense industry, this should be a moment of accountability. Billions of dollars were spent on systems that delivered promises, not protection. Contracts were signed based on capability claims that are now failing a very public test. But accountability rarely comes to defense contractors. Investigations take years, contracts continue, and by the time reports are written, the news cycle has moved on. And the next generation of systems is already being sold with the exact same promises. Here's the bottom line, and I want you to hear this clearly. The $17 billion Iron Dome was never a shield. It was a calculation. It was a bet that the threats would stay small enough, slow enough, and limited enough for the technology to handle them. That bet just lost. 9 interceptors, degraded radar systems, 90-second warning windows. A government is now telling its citizens that protection can no longer be guaranteed. These aren't temporary setbacks. These are structural failures that cannot be fixed in weeks or months. Rebuilding interceptor stockpiles takes years. Rebuilding the industrial production capacity takes even longer. And rebuilding the strategic assumptions that entire defense architectures were based on takes a generation. Iran spent 45 years preparing for this moment. They studied American systems, identified weaknesses, and built weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses. They executed a multi-phase strategy with the patience that comes from knowing you are fighting a long game against adversaries who only think in election cycles. The missiles are faster than the interceptors. The production is faster than the resupply. The strategy is longer than the attention span. And the consequences of that mismatch are just beginning to unfold. Pay attention to what happens next, because the next few weeks won't just determine the future of the Middle East. They'll determine what missile defense means for the next 50 years. Subscribe if you want analysis that cuts through the noise. The math doesn't lie. And right now, the math is telling a story that very few people want to hear.